Now, it's the biggest infrastructure project in Europe, planned to create 22,000 jobs. Full-scale construction work starts on the HS2 high-speed railway today. The idea is that faster rail links between London, the Midlands and the north of England will spread economic growth more evenly throughout the country. But there's been criticism of the costs involved, which have certainly grown over time. And now, after COVID, questions are being asked more generally about the future of rail travel. Trains are emptier now, and that trend could continue with more people working from home. Well, we can talk now to Lord Berkeley, the Labour peer, who wrote a detailed report earlier this year against HS2. He was deputy chair of the review set up by the government last year and former chair of the Rail Freight Group. Good morning.
Good morning.
Have we reached the point of no return with HS2?
Well, I don't know. It's interesting that the government believes that it's got £127 billion to spend on HS2 at a time, as you said, where the economy is hardly looking good. But my main concern, of course, is that it doesn't rebalance the economy, as the Prime Minister keeps on saying, because it helps you get to London more quickly, but it doesn't actually do what commuters in the North and the Midlands really want, which is having a decent railway service, less overcrowding and more reliability, for their travel to work every day.
But the argument is that you'll be able to spread growth around the country more evenly, end the north-south divide, if you like.
Well, the north-south divide, yes, is very serious. But the real problem is that the first phase between Birmingham and London is in the southeast, effectively. And so all these new jobs that the government is claiming will actually be in the south of Birmingham and towards London.
Initially, but the plan is to extend the railway, isn't it, to both into the northwest and to the northeast? Hello, Lord Berkeley?
Extra funding for the railways in those areas for people everyday commuting.
But what about the issue of these 22,000 jobs being created, which at a time when we're expecting economic upheaval, won't they be welcome?
They would be very welcome, but they could easily be transferred or done by Network Rail on increasing and improving the existing lines, like electrifying the rest of the Midland Main Line, extra tracks at Manchester to improve the regional services themselves. And I think that's equally important, in fact more important than getting to London quicker.
What George Osborne, former Chancellor, has said about this, he says it's an illusion to think you can drop one massive project, which has taken 12 years, and pick up a new project of building a railway line from Manchester to Leeds tomorrow. It's just not going to happen.
Well, of course, he's right, but you don't need a new line between Manchester and Leeds. You need to improve the existing line, and you need to get some devolution into the decision-making between the northwest and the northeast as to what they want to build, and improve a larger number of the very bad lines that exist at the moment. And some of those are very nearly shovel-ready, and I'd suggest that the jobs would be much better spent there on a series of smaller projects rather than this big one, which is mostly in the southeast to start with.
Do you think that changing work patterns, not just people being fearful about going on public transport at the moment, but perhaps more long-term patterns of more working from home, do you think that changes the dynamic in the arguments around this?
I think it makes a significant change, because many people who commute daily short distances may, in the kind of jobs where they probably need to continue to do that, longer distance between Birmingham and London and Manchester and London and other places, I suspect that there'll be a much reduced demand because people are learning to work from home in those kind of jobs where the people live. So I think it needs a complete review before we spend too much money on these massive vanity projects.
But a lot of money has already been spent, potentially up to £5 billion. If you stop now, won't that have been wasted?
Well, maybe 5 billion is maybe to some extent weighted, although some of it can be used. The land can be sold again. But 5 billion is a great deal less than something like 230 billion between the cost of HS2 and these improvements in the regions. It's a very, very big sum, that.
And wouldn't full cancellation have serious consequences for the supply chain for the UK construction industry? That's what the Oakley report found.
Well, it did. It did certainly find that. But if the government allowed Network Rail to get on with some of their projects in smaller, bite-sized contracts, I think the contractors would actually find that much more acceptable. Because, I mean, there's schemes like going into Euston, they don't even have a design that's safe yet. And I don't think the contractors are going to be able to build this unless there's some various serious changes around theirs. They're enormous contracts, which is putting some of the contractors' balance sheets, I think, slightly at risk.
Lord Berkeley, thank you for talking to us.